Hello, this is Lawrence Lewis.
And this is Sister Christian.
Today is Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. This is the Producers Happy Hour. Two producers on opposite coasts reaching out to our filmmaking and live event community to hear your stories about how this pandemic has affected you, your life, and your work.
It's important to keep sharing our experiences. Your stories let us know that we're not alone.
Email us, or better yet, record a 1 to 2 minute voice memo and send it to producershappyhour@gmail.com. Just follow the instructions on our website, producershappyhour.com.
And share this show with friends and colleagues. We want our stories to be heard. We think it's important to keep the community closer, so please share.
Yes.
All right, Lawrence, today we're chatting with production designer Katie Byron.
Yeah. Katie is a production designer for film, television, and commercials. Mostly film and television. She does a lot of narrative stuff. It'll be great to get her perspective. She's based here in LA, but works all over the world. Excited to chat with her today.
I'm excited.
How are you doing, Christian?
I'm doing fine. I'm just going to say fine.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm feeling one way or the other. I had a hour and a half conversation with my mother this morning. She lives in Kentucky, so it's always interesting to check in with the non-coastal communities to see how it's going, because it is different. You know, obviously, she's over 65 and her husband's over 65. And, you know, just checking to see how, if they go out and the groceries and all of those things, how they're doing, because I can't help her physically. I can't physically be there to help her. So, yeah, I mean, she seems to be doing well, but an hour and a half is a long time to talk to your mom.
That's a long conversation.
I'm sure everyone out there knows that, but just saying it.
But she's okay. Everything's fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. It was just a long conversation, you know, just checking in with each other. We do it every few days. We don't speak every day. So yeah, everything's fine. How are you doing?
I'm good. I came back to LA for a few days and working from here. And it's fine. Yeah, I drove through the neighborhood and saw everything closed. And it's, you know, sad to see my little beautiful neighborhood of Los Feliz kind of all shuttered up. But I'm here. I'm going to order from some restaurants, do what I can to support them.
Yeah, get some of those home state margaritas, which I'm jealous about.
Yeah.
Everybody in the Silver Lake area, Los Feliz, Echo Park, please.
Home state.
Yeah.
Get a jug of margaritas from Home State. It's amazing.
I know. The meatball shop here in Williamsburg will deliver you a cocktail for $4, which they send out a mixer with liquor in a mason jar. And then
it's amazing.
I got something called a pomegranate mule, which is a Moscow mule, but with pomegranate juice, it seems. So they sent a side can of ginger beer and then a vodka pomegranate infused mix in a mason jar. And then you just make up your drinks yourself.
So did I don't know how the liquor licenses work there in New York, but here
they suspended it.
They did. Okay, same thing with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
They allowed any restaurant to sell cash and carry booze.
Yes. Which is
even if they never had a liquor license before, which is amazing.
It is. It keeps
very smart on behalf of our.
And I don't know that a lot of restaurants have received that information here in New York, because some of them still aren't selling alcohol. But I can say that, you know, especially the ones in Williamsburg, if you live in Brooklyn, are all catching on to the, you know, either sending a bottle of wine with your meal or, you know, a premixed cocktail.
Right.
So home state, yes. And you're back for a little bit.
Yeah, back for a little bit, sleep in my own bed, check our mail, and check in on the house. And that's about it. Then we'll probably go back out after the weekend to Joshua Tree.
Yes, it's nice.
Very fortunate to have both places.
Yes.
So we're taking advantage of it, bouncing between the two.
Well, today's the first day it hasn't rained in New York. There's bright blue sunshine out there, so I'm going to get out for a walk after this.
Good. So a few things to share with everybody before we dive into a voice memo. The Freelancers Union, who we've been talking about, they posted that form letter that we have on our website that you can send to state officials. They have come out with a kind of a explanatory blog post about what the CARES Act means for freelancers. And for everybody to remember, the CARES Act is the Coronavirus Relief and Economic Security Act. Some aspects of this act that do apply for self-employed or small business people. We were talking about this earlier. Christian, you operate as an S Corp, just like I do, right? So you bill everything through your corporation, and you are technically the sole employee of the company. And that's how I operate as well. So we qualify under the Small Business Payroll Protection Plan. So for people that operate like us through a corporation, there is some sort of aspect to this benefits package that we do qualify for. And then there's 1099 people, and then there's people that just go on payroll. So we all have different ways of getting paid, and the Freelancers Union breaks it down for us in this blog post. It's called What the CARES Act Means for Freelancers. Search for it on their website, freelancersunion.org, and we're going to put a link in the show notes.
I think that's great. And I think that if anybody out there is starting the process or has any findings that you have or any tips, we'd love to have you on so you can walk us through it. I know that, I need to start looking at those things. Procrastination, I'm sure, is part of it, but I don't even know where to begin. I'm sure I can read it and find out. But if somebody would like to come on and, tell us about your experience, that would be great.
Yeah, I've reached out to the Freelancers Union. Maybe we can get them on to see if they can walk us through all the various aspects of it.
Fantastic.
Also, my accountant, I've been talking to him. I might see if he can come on and talk to us about what our options are.
Oh, is your accountant LA based?
He's actually not. He's remote, but he works for a lot of freelancers and self-employed type people. So, Christian, have you seen this ad in your feed from Facebook? It's like shots of empty streets and empty cities.
Yes, I have seen it. It appears to be stock footage, but a lot of it looks practical.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was shot, what wasn't shot. I know Facebook is a little under fire and, especially, these past few years with the political ads and stuff. So I know not a lot of people are happy with them, but I have to say this is actually a pretty nice spot that they've put together. It's promoting basically a support fund. It's facebook.com/COVID support. This video it could very well be stock footage. Some of it looks current, though.
It's pretty heartfelt. It looks like what they've done is taken iPhone videos or postings and have, added them to maybe some stock footage, but a lot of it looks really current. It's really well done.
And the most amazing thing that I like about this is it features a UK artist by the name of Kate Tempest.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of her at all?
Yes.
She is amazing. If you haven't listened to Kate Tempest, now is the time more than ever. She's kind of a spoken word, kind of beat poet / kind of rap artist. Her voice and her stories are behind this video. So if you see it in your feed, unclick it, listen to Kate Tempest. And then you can go to the /COVID support, Facebook /COVID support, and it offers you a bunch of different ways how you can help. Yes. Either financially or how you can volunteer or anything.
I think volunteering is pretty important. So this is a great way to look and see if there's something that you feel that you could do. So Crew Nation by Live Nation. Have you heard about this, Lawrence?
Tell me all about it.
Crew members are basically the backbone of the live music industry, right? We hope you'll join us in supporting them through this temporary intermission until we can once again unite millions of people around the world through power of music. Basically, Live Nation has committed $10 million to Crew Nation, contributing an initial $5 million to the fund and matching $5 million. And it's basically given by artists, fans, and employees dollar for dollar. And this is to help out those crew members who are not working right now.
That's awesome. So they're following suit with some studios and some other organizations to support the backbone of their industry of people that are now out of work for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about concerts and stuff and large gatherings. I realize that, the way that Live Nation has done business up until this point is changing. It's going to change right away. So it's about brand and how you act during this time. So I'm glad that they're stepping up. This is great. Great news.
So I have two more things I want to talk about.
What you got?
FeelUSA.org. I saw this last night in one of the Facebook groups for filmmakers. It's apparently an organization put together by a fellow producer by the name of Nick Quinto. So the website is feelusa.org, feel like FEEL, USA.org. And the reason I wanted to talk about it today because it reflects exactly what we were talking about 2 days ago with Sean. You know, he said if there was a production manager in the administration kind of running this
Right.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
all the relief efforts would be working so much better.
Right.
Tongue in cheek, we get it. You know, there's probably a lot we don't know, but we are a resilient and very resourceful and fast acting team of people, us film and live event production people.
Exactly.
And this guy, Nick Quinto, recognized that. So he took his film production company and turned it into basically services for emergency logistics, basically. So they're offering dispatch and delivery, they're offering warehousing, procurement and fabrication. His wife is making masks,
Right.
and also community outreach. And he's put out a call to people to join them and be part of this production community turned emergency response team. So on the website, he says, with the disruption in the workforce, scores of tri-state workers are now unemployed. Due to the very nature of the entertainment industry, we are now on hiatus indefinitely. The silver lining is that the tri-state area has a battle-hardened, versatile army who routinely work 12 to 14 hours a day under stress and in all conditions. And that's us, the film production community and live event production community. So he's proud to announce that he's retooling his production company for emergency logistics and fabrication. So I thought that was pretty impressive and spot on with what we were talking about the other day.
Yeah, I mean, you see something that's needed and you go and you do it. It's very appealing to our personalities. Plus, if we don't know something, we can learn it in a day. I really do have that. Or
Totally.
maybe two.
Absolutely. Maybe two.
Because
Maybe two.
that's what we've had to do. I can remember even as a PA, like not knowing something, I would never say that I didn't know it, but I would ask three other people how to do it and I would know.
Yeah.
It's just in our blood to do that. So good on you, Nick.
Yeah, good on you, Nick. I've reached out to him, see if he'd pop on the show with
that'd be
us. So we'll see
great.
if we can get him on to chat about it and spread his message. But yeah, what you were saying, Christian, I remember reading a book about filmmaking early on when I was in college. And
You went to college? No, it's been well. No, I always find people in this industry are, you know, a lot of them went to college for things that they don't use these days. So, it's a very self-taught industry. But sorry,
it is. So I remember reading something as a kid when I was in college about the film industry, and somebody's advice. I don't remember who it was. It was surround yourself with experts in the things you don't know, and learn from them, and ask questions. And so, you know, that's what we do, Christian, when we're on a job is we surround ourselves with experts and glean all the information from them that we can. And that's how we tackle new things.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I've always felt about, you know, the crew members that we hire, the heads of each department. We've hired the best person that we know or that the director or the DP knows in order to do the job that we've asked them to do. So as, you know, we're facilitators, you know, we know what they do for a living, but I don't know the ins and outs of how to program a menu on a Red camera. Don't do it because I don't need to know how, because I've hired an individual who is an expert in it. I think that what Nick is doing for Feel, I think it's great. I just went on his site. I hope he comes on to talk to us. So, Lawrence, voice memo time. Yeah, I know. I love getting these. I love them. So today we have a voice memo from Melanie Gonick, who is a video producer and editor at MIT. Let's take a listen.
My name is Melanie Gonick. I am out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. I am the video producer and editor for MIT News. And MIT News is a news office located within the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So we operate just like any other news outlet, except we are very MIT-centric. So since I'm not freelance, I am still working. I have had shoots cancel. I had shoots that were scheduled for March that obviously didn't happen. And I had schedules that were rescheduled for April that will not happen. I also have even more future shoots that I can see us eventually canceling. One of the unique things about my job is we cover a lot of the research that comes out of the Institute, and often that research is actually done well ahead of publication. So for instance, a researcher could be working on something a year before now, or a year prior, I should say, and just now it's being published. So there's been opportunity for me to capture things before this all went down without us even knowing when it would run. So luckily for me, I do have a nice chunk of content that is still going to be published eventually that I will be working on to tell those stories. But otherwise, just like most people, we've had to kind of pivot our focus. MIT's working on a lot of research right now related to COVID-19. So I've had opportunities to assist in telling that story creatively. I do a lot of audio work for my job. So in that sense, nothing in that regard has changed because that's something that is easily done remotely. I might not be in my nice studio that I have on campus, but I am still able to capture audio. It's just really hard. I would say that I'm so lucky to have a job and I keep working and I'm motivated to be creative. And I think that if I wasn't, I would still just try as hard as I could to stay creative. It's hard to stay creative in a time like this, even if it's something low key, like making funny videos for Instagram, like whatever. I think it's just really important to keep your mental health healthy. And a lot of that involves just being stimulated. So I don't know what to tell people except just please try to keep your brain functioning and moving. And, you know, if you have equipment that you own, just go out and shoot stuff, document this process. I don't know, start your own documentary maybe. Could be worth it something someday. Good luck.
I mean,
Yeah, it can be hard to be creative right now. I definitely have big aspirations in times like these to be like, I want to make everything. But then
me too.
it's a little challenging.
It is. I also think she's doing some housekeeping too, you know, going back and looking and such and, you know, reflecting, which I think is important as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Melanie. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Being full-time and focused specifically at one institution on stories about that institution. It's good that you're keeping busy, and thanks for sending in your story. Much appreciated.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so Christian, you sent me this petition about New York City rents. Do you want to talk about it a little?
Yes, there's a petition that we've been mentioning about trying to get at least Mayor de Blasio kickstarted into the right direction on how to fix this, because now it's April 1st. And I realize that it's a countrywide situation and that, you know, New York City is a very dense population with skyrocketing rents where a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, as we all know. There's a big movement here to not pay the rent. I think that the second stimulus package that we're going to pass, I know it's being worked on right now because we're going to be doing this longer than we thought, will hopefully begin to address that, because everything that I've seen, you know, banks are getting breaks, landlords who own multiple buildings are getting deferments, mortgages are getting deferred, but the one thing that isn't are tenants. And I do think that the rent-controlled apartments in New York are getting some relief, but for those of us who are, you know, because basically a rent-controlled apartment in New York is like winning the lottery.
Yeah, right.
I mean, those those are put in people's wills. Or to give to their kids, you know what I mean? Like they are, they're just the transfer of it's amazing of how that system works. So those of us who aren't doing that are still looking for ways on how to either get a little bit of relief or, you know, some sort of action. So I can post a different article as well that just kind of gives a nice sum up of where we're at for New York City.
I do know that here in LA, you know, we talked about the new terms. You have a year to pay back these 3 months of rent.
Yes.
However, there was a video I saw last night protesting around the mayor's home here in LA. And if you've never seen a protest during times of isolation, it's interesting. It's a train of cars honking and circling his home with signs in the window that says, cancel rent. And they're just going in a circle around his home. That's what a protest looks like right now. I had no idea, but that's happening because, rightly so, the thinking out here is that we're never going to get back these 3 months to make that money that we owe.
Yep.
Right? It should all just be forgiven. It should not be postponed, deferred, paid back later. These 3 months of rent should be forgiven.
Yes.
And that's what those people are fighting for in their cars circling Mr. Garcetti's home here in LA.
That's an interesting because when I think protest, I think of people marching in the streets with signs, and the people's ingenuity right now
Yeah,
on how
exactly.
on how to protest safely but still getting their word out there. I mean, I like it because that would be annoying. Those horns.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can hear it now. The one thing that I've
Yeah.
noticed in New York, by the way, side note, is there's no horns. You hear horns
right.
all the time because we use
All
our
the time.
horns like,
It's like a second language to you guys.
it's like it's like,
It
in
is.
the hillbillies have their own hollers that they do. I know because
Yeah,
my family had
14
one. Yeah.
There's like 14 different styles of a horn honk, and they all mean something different. And if you're there long enough, you'll start to hear what they mean.
Exactly. One is like, "Hey, move it," and the other one's like, "Hey, move it."
Yeah.
But yeah,
And the third one's, "Hey, fucking move it."
exactly. So there's no horns. It's eerie.
It's eerie, I bet, right?
It is a little bit. It's nice, but it's also a little bit eerie because you begin to get used to those things living in a dense city.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to put the link to this petition in our show notes and on our website. I haven't seen anything similar to this extent for LA, but I'll keep looking. And if I do find one for LA, I'll include that as well.
Yeah, I think change.org is a pretty good barometer, and there's a few others out there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to our interview, shall we?
I'm excited. So, Katie Byron is a production designer for film, television, and commercials. She began her studies at UC Berkeley in architecture, but quickly realized her interest in space and design was more aligned for storytelling.
This led to a natural transition into film and interactive installation art. Her upbringing in literature, writing, music, and travel has played a huge role in her development as a collaborator and a creator. And she believes that it's that extracurricular activity that has the greatest influence on our work. Her recent credits include Booksmart, Color Out of Space, and Zola. Let's take a listen. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit? First, we want to start with how are you? How are you doing through all this? How's you, your family, your loved ones?
Man, there's too much to say, but I'm doing really well. Like I feel great. My family is doing well. I feel very fortunate in these times, but of course, it's a challenging time for the rest of the world. So
we'd love to hear a little background on yourself and what type of projects you work on and what was happening when everything went down.
I'm a production designer for feature films and television. I feel really fortunate and very prepared in this time because I was planning on taking some time off during this period. I had worked for like 2 years back to back, movie after movie after movie, TV show, movie. And I needed a break. And so the last job I did was a job with Mike Mills where we were traveling around the country for about 4 months. We were working in New Orleans and New York and Detroit and LA. And before that, I was in Calgary. Mm-hmm. And so I had always intended on taking February and March and April down because I was kind of cranking things out. And so I feel like I'm okay at this time. It is scary because, this will last longer than the time that I allocated to take off. But it is, one of the things that happened is when I decided to take the time off, then I was constantly tempted by projects. Like I was, going out for interesting jobs that I was excited about, even though I promised myself I would take time off. So it feels like a forced period of like, you got to stay put and you can't, there's no FOMO, there's no
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you were just in New Orleans, Detroit, New York, and here. Have you heard from any of those local crew members that you worked with, or?
Yeah, I had an amazing crew in New York, and
woohoo, New York.
Yeah, I mean, oh yeah, there you go, yeah, and it is so interesting, because it feels like it was years ago that I was there, just because so much had changed in the past couple of weeks. But they're all doing good. It's hard because with you New Yorkers, you guys have small places to live and the city is your living room. And now the living room's been pulled out from under your feet. And now you've got to be in these small apartments. And a lot of people I know are maybe struggling with that aspect of it. They can't like enjoy the city in the same way that they usually do. And then, New Orleans is like another totally different situation. The people that I know there have been through Hurricane Katrina. So
Yes. They're pretty hard people.
They're pretty hard people. And a friend of mine there has used the word magedy to describe their like energy, which is like magical tragedy. There's magic in the tragedy. There's this coming together. There's this,
goosebumps.
Yeah.
It did. It's such a great word.
The premise of the movie that we were working on, we were really engaging with a lot of the different communities in New Orleans, and really seeing the class divides, and
Yes,
they're really the battleground for a lot of what we're dealing with in America. So they're at the forefront of it, and just wonderful, beautiful people. And
I find New Orleans crews are pretty resilient. They're really good people and hardworking and pretty resilient. And I think you have to be when you're in a community that has gone through so much tragedy.
It was an interesting thing just to be roaming the world before all this happened, and then come back home and just kind of like and enjoy the great pause. That's what my brother calls this experience.
Oh, really? Is he in the industry as well?
No, he's not. He is.
Right.
Yeah.
So the great pause.
Yeah.
Because
great pause.
Right.
That is really good.
It's good, but it's also, as freelancers, we have the great pause for 2 weeks at a time. So in the past, what we would call a great pause was 3 weeks,
Oh, I was talking to a producer director friend of mine yesterday, where he referred to this moment as the research and development phase of humanity.
Oh, these are gems.
Yeah, this is good.
These are little gems
Yes.
you've got there, Katie.
Yeah.
We're going back with some client notes. we're gonna present version 2 next.
Yeah. We're gonna try and figure out what humanity needs, and
Take a big red Sharpie and make it happen.
It's interesting because, we've been doing this podcast daily for a couple of weeks now, and we do magedy is the first time I've ever heard that, but people are seeing the magic in this awful, uncertain time. Because of this is the great pause, all of our normal responsibilities have been taken off the table in terms of work or, whatever it is that we do for a living. Now our only responsibility is making just enough money so we can feed ourselves and staying calm and checking in on people. So there is something really unique about this time period, and magedy, I think, really, really kind of encapsulates it.
Yeah, and I have to give credit to Jackie Samel, who coined that term. But it's a smart one.
Shout out to Jackie.
Shout out to Jackie. Now, you mostly work, Christian and I mostly work in commercials and advertising. You mostly work in features, correct?
Yeah.
I don't know how that works for you in terms of, your calendar, what lies ahead. How far out do you usually have your year planned? But I imagine right now everything's kind of off the table, on hold, or do you have stuff later in the year that's already lined up that you might still be doing?
Yeah, I think that everything's on hold. I didn't book a job before, this whole thing went down. As a department head, you guys deal with this as producers. Before the industry shut, I was working on a commercial. And I was really stressed about what would happen being in charge of my crew if one of my 30 people that were working on my team called me and said they had a fever, what I would have to do that morning.
Right. Yeah.
As a department head, my job is to just imagine all the problems that can happen and be ready for them. And so, be prepared. So in that moment, I was like, oh my God, okay, 5 a.m. Is my lead man going to call me with a fever? Okay. He's good. All right. Is my prop master going to call me with a fever? Okay, they're good. So in every person, you have to come up with a plan for what happens if that person can't do the job? Wow. Can I call somebody? Yeah. Can I jump in that truck myself and drive it? And I was like, holy shit, if I was on a movie, how hard this would be, where there's multiple trucks and there's multiple departments underneath me, and so before the industry shut down, I actually, decided I don't want to be, I can't lead a project in this time.
Right.
So it's just too, that the stress of being a designer is enough, and the worry that, that at any moment people could go down,
I think that's very responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a lot to say, no, I'm not going to work because I know that it would put other people in the job and other people in jeopardy.
And so that's what keeps running through my head is how do we crew up in the future with this thing looming over our heads? Like, do we have people on standby that, we have our truck drivers, but we have our like B team that comes in, that is like our, what's it called in like the theater
relief
or the understudies.
Understudies, right?
Yeah, and then I was talking to some friends that are part of studios, and I was like, "How are you guys dealing with this? Like, if an actor has a fever, how do you handle this?" And when we were working on Come On, Come On, the movie that we just wrapped, it was like, there was someone on our team that was sick every single day, and we had to you just have to work through it. So if we really do figure out how to test people properly, if testing's key, right? So it's like, if we're able to test, then we can keep moving forward as filmmakers and sort of, work after in the shadow of this pandemic.
I think that things are going to be a little bit smaller. And then I also do think that what you're saying, we have to take into consideration. So just taking it to other departments as well, our DP, the first AC, should maybe be somebody who can also operate the camera.
Yeah.
Just in case. And the best boy needs to be, and then we had, who suggested it? Maybe the gaffer, we're still paying them for the day. Was it Susan?
Susan Ruid. Yeah, Anderson.
So if the gaffer is sick, he can still be on FaceTime because he's still getting paid, and he can be talking. It may mean that we need to slow down, and that our 10 to 12 hour days on a good day, our 12-hour days we're not packing in so much content. We have to take it in half, and we have to start and be a little bit slower and methodical about it.
Yeah, and that actually honestly sounds very lovely and healthy.
I know. Utopia. We're inventing it right now.
Yeah.
We're inventing it.
I mean, and I think that's one thing that this whole crisis is teaching us is like how to install better systems that are more compassionate and include the human experience in a deeper way. I'm hoping that, a lot of old systems that don't serve us will die, and we'll adapt to what humanity really needs.
Exactly. I hope we allow ourselves to. And speaking of sick leave, like in the film industry, you just don't call in sick. You still go to work, because the way we've structured what we do, it's all so insular. There's only one person that is the prop master, right? You can't ask the gaffer to fill in.
Well, you could.
So it is. Well, you could. It is a unique situation that we're in, and it was interesting to hear that you started running through that scenario in your head. Well, what if this person goes down? What if this person goes down? How do you keep the job on track? How do you make sure they're taken care of? It's a unique scenario for filmmaking that we have to kind of address when we start to go back to work, to make sure everyone's healthy and has the option to stay home if they need to.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe structuring the budget in the future as well. That includes some overlap for team members and just
sick leave
We have, 2 prop masters that alternate days. I mean, I don't know what the solution would be, but, to begin even thinking about it, I think is important. So we're ready to go.
Yeah. And then I think also with the testing, it's like pain is this range that when we are on a project, we're so passion driven when we're working. It's like we have this measurement of pain, which is not consistent. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would say, is it between 1 or 10? What is it? And I'd be like, I don't know. It might be like a 3, or, it might be somebody else's 7. And so we don't trust our own gauge of what sick actually is, So it's like, if we took a test and we're like, oh, coronavirus, or oh, I got a fever, if only.
Yeah.
Well, I completely agree with that because there's been times, and I've been guilty of it. And so, everybody, please, this is a great time to judge me. But I've been guilty of thinking that somebody's not as sick or as in pain as they are because I personally could handle what they're doing. And that's such a silly thing to think because you can't. If they're feeling pain, you have no idea what they're feeling. You have to go on trust, or if they're sick. So, yeah, I mean, and I do think that testing is very important as well. So we know who has it, who's a carrier, who's immune. We need that.
Yeah, it's a whole different society. Oh my God, we're really just presenting plans for the
That's a whole different
utopia.
conversation.
I will stop right there.
Oh, but I do have another utopia
please.
idea.
Oh, okay.
A positive
Hold on,
moment.
guys.
So
Let's do it.
one thing that I have always noticed is that there has been the people behind the camera have been some of the most imaginative, creative people I've encountered. And a lot of them have super brilliant ideas for their own projects. I talk often with these behind the camera people. There's always like this idea of like, oh, well, you know, like if I had time off, I would write that script and I would work on my own thing. But these people are so good at their jobs that they keep getting hired, and so don't have the time to actually do it. So what I'm hoping is this great pause will create an environment for all of those people, like all of those production assistants, gaffers, cinematographers, prop masters, like to sort of like create this work, and that maybe the work after this thing is all over is a lot of these voices that have these, you know, like in the way that the Me Too movement brought a ton of actresses to the forefront to direct.
Yeah,
I'm kind of hoping that this will be like a shift into giving an opportunity to some people that
I think there's so many platforms right now. Like, I know it's been said that Netflix will put anything on the air. Like, I do know that there's so many platforms right now that are looking for content, that this is the time for you to get your concept together and then work it out.
Yeah.
If that's, you know, if your concept is something that you would like to present, now's the time.
That's amazing to hear. And I had a call with my agent a couple of weeks before this whole thing went down, and he went through every single like project that was in development, and it was a pretty dark time. Just really realizing like how complacent our industry had become.
Oh yeah.
And you know, with all the reboots and the content that films were being made for like lots of money that just kind of lacked some
inspiration.
Originality.
Inspiration and originality. Yeah, exactly. And to just like take a moment and be like, wait a second, what does humanity actually need, and what will they need in 6 months? And let's just reevaluate everything. I think it's a really cool moment.
I think it's a cool moment to get smaller and more local. I know that's been a reoccurring theme in what we've been talking about, but figuring out what each community needs and tailoring the product to those needs is going to become important as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even getting smaller personally, and, you know, checking in on yourself more and understanding what you want and what you need. And I kind of woke up the Monday after the weekend Garcetti shut everything down, and I was just like, I can do whatever I want right now. I had like no responsibilities.
In my house. I can do
in my house.
In my house, guys.
And so, you know, and that's when I'm texting, you know, Christian, like, we got to do a daily podcast.
Let's do a daily podcast. Hurry.
But I did have that moment of just like, oh my God, all the rules are out the window. We can do whatever we want right now. The world's your oyster right now.
Yeah.
Katie, what are you doing personally to bide this time?
Well,
and you can, after all that talk, you can just say you're sitting on the couch. It's okay.
No, but that's okay, because I do that most of the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like most of your guests, where it was like, I go back and forth between like, you know, being productive and then doing absolutely nothing. And I think that, you know, I've had a lot of like moments where I've like taken chunks of time off and like gone on retreat, you know, done a lot of interior work, and I'm cool with it. It doesn't bother me, and I feel like supported. Like I know that like work will come and all that. So kind of using this time to just like, don't know, see what comes out of me. And I'm excited to be surprised by whatever that is. And just whatever happens, and rather than like coming up with a spreadsheet of tasks, I'm excited to just see what will come. The one thing that I definitely want to do is I want to become a better production designer. I want to.
How is that possible? You're amazing.
Well, no, I mean, I think that I want to learn some new tools. I want to get better at some programs that I'm like weak at. Like some 3D modeling illustration tools that I'm like not the quickest at. I want to get quicker.
Yes.
I want to learn how to adapt as a production designer to like fit whatever, like if, for instance, we're moving into a different stage of filmmaking, like maybe I can learn some tools to help lead there. Most of the people that I enjoy working with most either started in the 2008 financial collapse or came from a background of like working in restaurants or train hopping or whatever it is. Like these people that like I love working with have something in common, which is this gratitude for the work. When I started in the 2008 collapse, so I thought that it always was just a total gift to get a job, and that level of
yes,
yeah. And
I mean, I still think that every time I get a job,
totally.
every time.
Yeah, every time.
And I think it's part of the freelance mentality.
For sure. And I think that entitlement can be like a total passion killer. And I think that like humility and gratitude is like just, it puts a sparkle in your eye. And
about the possibilities.
and yeah, you just, I mean, the truth is that like, I do feel so grateful for the work that I do. And I've been on a treadmill for 2 years, and I came from a place of humility. I maybe got complacent at times, and I'm excited to just get back to like really being so grateful for any work that I get, because it's an opportunity to like collaborate with such amazing, brilliant minds and earn an income. And, it's really special. So I think I'm spending a lot of time remembering, what it is to just be happy to make things and to fall in love with the process again.
And that we choose to do this.
Yeah.
Not many people get to choose what they do for a living.
Absolutely. Right. And I think a lot of, this experience has brought me a lot back to places in my childhood. I think it has for a lot of us, like, this idea of like summer when you were a kid and you're just like, where you go through moments of boredom and you want to play with your friends, but they live far away. And, so I used to have every type of hobby that you could name. I get lost in all these creative projects, and they weren't with any intent to make money or get validation, or they were just because I enjoyed doing them. And I think that when you get paid for doing the work and you do it for so long, that like it shifts. But I'm excited to get back to that childhood pleasure that I used to have with creativity.
Oh,
what that
lovely.
would be like.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Something to look forward to.
Katie, that was lovely. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Oh my God, you got it. And also I just wanted to, before we sign off, let you know that I cut out some things from my my expenses.
Oh yeah, tell us. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, all right.
You have a subscription
I want to hear it.
Okay.
She did this.
Oh
yeah,
God. Okay, wait. I gotta get ready. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So I actually did this 2 years ago because I read this book Elizabeth Warren wrote where she suggests doing this. And so I did this 2 years ago. So it isn't the full cutout that I feel like a lot of your guests will give you, but I froze my membership to Just Float, the flotation tank place in Pasadena, which I felt bad about.
Hold on. There's a flotation place in Pasadena. Lawrence, have you been holding out on me?
I did not know about it, but this is LA, so it does not shock me at all.
Oh,
plus Katie knows train hoppers apparently.
Yeah, I mean that's like the coolest shit that I've heard in a long time.
She's gonna
Katie,
know the
so
floaty place.
Just so you know,
sure.
you're now my main girl crush. But go on.
Well, I feel sad that I froze that account because like I know they need the money and they're like a cool company, but that was obviously a cost I could freeze. I went on my bank statement, and there were like random apps that I feel like I don't even know. Yeah, those were the
They're
killers.
charging you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like about $40 in random apps. So $50 for Just Float,
What?
$40 for random apps. I
Yeah.
learned, this is another hack from a production designer friend named Katie Birmingham, that you can go on Adobe's Creative Suite, like the Photoshop website, and you can cancel your account. And if you list why that it's too expensive, they'll give you 2 free months.
Oh.
So-
Because that's I subscribe to them. It's expensive.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I've been contemplating, but I've been trying to get better at all of those programs, so it's hard.
Well, yeah. So they will give you 2 free months if you attempt to cancel. So that's
Insider
what
hack.
Nice. There's a
Nice.
hack. Okay.
Gusto, which is the payroll software.
Yeah.
They have a really great deal. They offer, you can freeze payments if you're going through hardship. So that's about $49 I'm saving there.
That's awesome.
I've thought about quitting Spotify because I think that they're not handling this crisis in an ethical way.
Mm.
So I'm like kind of contemplating it. I feel like, I mean, they've always kind of, musicians aren't most into Spotify for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
They have an opportunity to jump in and help their artists, and they haven't yet. So I'm contemplating that.
Well, maybe if enough people cancel, we can get them to do something.
Yeah. And then also it's like we're inside. And so I've been like finding old hard drives and like playing music that I listened to like 10 years ago. And it's been exciting. I've been like traveling down memory lane. So
Awesome.
Car insurance has been a huge debacle in my life because everybody that I've talked to has said completely different things about different insurance companies. So I'm still trying to figure out the best one there.
But you still have a car and you still need insurance, right?
Yeah, I still have a
You're
car.
just looking to like change. Okay.
Again, like, this Elizabeth Warren's book, like she was like, go through every single expense and then ask everyone around you what they pay. So it's like,
yeah.
if you are open with that, like I pay $250 a month on auto insurance, which I learned was outrageous. So, I'm trying to figure out. Yeah. Considering getting rid of Netflix, and then I have an Audible account, and I can cancel that, but I have to spend like 15 of my credits first. So I'm like trying to figure out what books to get before that I do that. But yeah, so that's
Nice.
so that's like what do I have? Like I guess $150 a month that I have.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's groceries.
Yeah. So thank you guys for suggesting to do that.
Good.
Well,
you were the
Second.
second person to have let us know that they've done it, and of course Christian and I haven't done it
Please.
yet. We're going to.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
One thing
It's good for the goose.
to be gentle on yourself, like for the insurance thing, like it is like a mental spiral, and it's like this thing happens where you're like, oh, that's too much information. I'll deal with that tomorrow, and like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it is. Be gentle with yourself, and this stuff isn't easy. It's hard to pick up the phone, and all these places are impossible to reach right now.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that one of my major ones, I think, because I'm definitely old enough to have cable. And I
Right.
understand that is a foreign thing to a lot of people these days, especially if you were born after a certain point. And that's what I feel about that. It's just like that takes, and then your cell phone bill and all of that takes days to talk to somebody and phone calls back,
Yeah.
and they just make it so difficult for you.
Oh yeah.
And I think you have to wind up threatening and canceling before you get any leeway. And that was before all of this. Now I can't,
Yeah.
so that's why I've been procrastinating.
Well, a lot
to be honest.
like Photoshop, that is something you can do online. Gusto, that's something you can do online. I actually also wrote Dropbox, and they're getting back to me, but I've been dealing with someone there. So that might be something that we can also freeze.
Yeah.
Suspend or just like cut in half or any of these things.
Yeah.
I know companies will work with you, but you have to be the one to reach out to them. Nobody's giving you anything for free.
Yeah.
So
No one's offering anything straight up.
No.
So you just got to
they're just waiting.
Yeah.
make the plea. Wow,
Well,
that's awesome.
I know.
That
Thank you so
was
much.
great.
It inspires me to think about doing it.
And the note to be kind to yourself as well is important.
Yeah.
Don't stress about it. turn off the online stuff, the easy stuff first, and then if you feel like it, dive in.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm glad you did
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
All
sharing.
right. Thank you, Katie. Thanks for spending some time with us and sharing your
Oh
thoughts.
my God, it was lovely to
it's
connect
very
with
helpful.
people in this period of isolation. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's many things. I mean, like her entire interview was just like a piece of candy.
Yeah.
It was just
delicious morsel.
delicious, and I'm sad it's over.
Yeah.
What I think the most interesting part is, as a producer, and I do consider myself creative, and I know you do too, as a creative producer, right? We're just not those structured, militant, A-type producers who have to do it like this. You know, we're definitely more moldable to circumstance, right?
Yeah.
And what I loved hearing from her was just like, I'm not a spreadsheet kind of list maker. You know, she's just doing it organically, which is so appealing because, you know, the first thing I think we're taught in our industry as a PA is to make a list, write it down. Yeah. Have you done your list? You know, those were the major things that I was taught. And it's so daunting, a list sometimes. I've evolved past lists. I always go back to thinking, I should probably do a list and then I'll be more organized and then I'll know what I'm doing. So her creative take on it, of how she's getting through this, was amazing for me to listen to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just enjoyed designing Utopia with her.
I think that's
my new favorite hobby, designing Utopia with Katie Byron.
Yes, she could absolutely be on our ad hoc committee of how things should be moving forward.
Exactly.
Plus, she knows train hoppers.
Yeah, she knows train. We didn't even dive into that, but yeah.
I feel like that's something
I like how she just casually threw that out. You know, I worry a lot of people who, you know, maybe are waiters or train hoppers and
you know, who didn't go to college. You're like, what? Who the fuck? How does she what? Because it's very specific. So either she was a train hopper, don't tell anyone, or B, she's close to a train hopper. So I'm very we're gonna have to have her back.
We'll
just
have her
on
back.
A train hopper episode.
Just on it, yeah, exactly. But her friends quote magic and tragedy, as to compare to what we're going through right now. I mean, I think that we had a breakthrough moment on this podcast.
Yes.
And I know she credited it to somebody else, but she was one that delivered it to us. Magedy, it is what we're going through. There is magic in this tragedy.
And it's about finding it. Yeah, the great pause.
It's about finding it. We have this great pause, and we can redesign the rules going forward. Hopefully we can redesign rules for ourselves going forward, and hopefully we can redesign the process of what we do going forward as well.
Yeah, these talks that we do every day, you know, absolutely give me hope. And I do know that I'm going to be ending today's podcast with a lot of hope. And it's because I was able to speak to Katie. It was great.
Yeah.
I know.
All right.
I mean, she's my new girl crush. So she is. Anyway.
Well, next time you come to LA, you know who to hire.
Yeah. Well, or drink with. I'm not sure.
Or
Both.
drink with. Yeah. All of it.
So.
All right. I think that's it for today.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, stay safe, stay connected, stay active, and please stay home.
Stay home. Wash your damn hands. Don't touch your damn face. You know who the hell you are.
Yes. And please send us your recordings or emails to producershappyhour@gmail.com. We want to share your story because I've reached out to a lot of people on LinkedIn that I know to send us their stories. And they say, well, I don't really have much of a story. Mine's not that exciting. I'm just working from home. But that's not true. Your story is interesting. That will resonate with somebody. You know, do you have kids at home? The fact that you're at home making something right now can be inspiring to somebody out there who doesn't have anything. So all stories are important, and it all helps our community feel a little less alone right now.
I completely agree. And I think that I'm going to go back to Josh Jupiter and the way that he's handling this versus the way Katie Byron is handling this are opposite spectrums.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely opposite. And I think that is why we're doing this, is so that we can get multiple perspectives on what we're going through, because each little bit of what each person has said has appealed to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Same
And
here.
something that they've said. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
well, Lawrence, how can people reach you directly?
Oh, they can get me at lawrencetLewis.com or for voiceover work, voiceoflawrence.com. And Christian, how do people put you on hold for all the jobs that are coming our way in the
I know.
future?
I'm very excited, everyone. So please go directly to sisterchristianproduces.com. I'm available and I'm ready to go for
All right.
whenever.
Whenever.
Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
Yes, talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.
Yeah. Tomorrow it is. Until tomorrow, Lawrence.
Until tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.